We're just about ready to jump in game. So let's head on over as we're ready. For game number 1 here between 3DB and RecoN B. Going to be spawning up in the north side of the map. Playing as the English. Going to be immediately moving out here. With 6 villagers going for the deer pack. Who's spawning in on the south side of the map.
His opponent today playing in the color blue, spawning in the southeastern part of the map as the Abbasid Dynasty. It is RecoN. And Merlin, last weekend, we talked a lot about the Abbasid Dynasty. We saw a decent amount of Abbasid plays. Now, after probably about the 5th or 6th Abbasid game that we've casted together, I'm fully committed on the sheep instead of the berries.
I think the only person that I've seen go out for the berries is 3DB. So, it seems to be a very uncommon build these days to go for the early mill. And I think it's just down to not wanting to chop on straggler trees. You know, investing that early 50 wood doesn't exactly get you that much compared to other civilizations like the Delhi do, where they can research wheelbarrow. Or even the French, you know, they've got cheaper wheelbarrow and cheaper mills anyway. So, you know, this is the way RecoN's looking to play it. House of Wisdom now going to be dropping down. What sort of wing do you think we're going to be seeing out of him? He's up against the English here. I have a feeling we're going to be seeing the Eco wing. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Eco would be a pretty good prediction there. I mean, when you're talking about the English, especially against someone like an Abbasid Dynasty that you could be a little bit greedy for, English might go for a second town center, but he went with the patented B build that we see here with the mill, with survival techniques, so he will be able to gobble up those deer pretty quickly. But going into Feudal Age for B, gotta remember for him, maybe he could take a greedy route, go for a second TC, you know, something like that. Or if he wants to go 2 TC, maybe a little bit of aggression afterward because of the fact that English has those men-at-arms. It's something that Abbasid can struggle to deal with in Feudal Age.
Yeah, I think we will be seeing a little bit of early aggression coming out here from B. I also love the fact here, when he's on the deer, he's grabbed himself survival techniques. This isn't something that we see every time from him. It seems to be randomly that he grabs this upgrade. I'm not exactly sure what metric he uses, whether he wants to grab this upgrade or not, but he's decided to grab it this time. So these deer are going to be providing him a lot of food very fast, which means he could just go for maybe a fast castle age, possibly. I know it's kind of not what we're used to, but maybe that's a possibility for him as he's now going for a forward, well, not a forward council hall, but it's not in the base, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's a Western council hall, isn't it? Right next to the mill. And I mean, I guess based on where RecoN's base is, I guess the longbowmen have a little bit less of a trajectory. But look at where RecoN is going with his House of Wisdom. That's a big old military wing. Gonna get those 2 spears and 2 archers right out of the gate. He's looking to take it to him.
Wow, yeah, that's a little bit surprising. I wonder if he's going to be going for a second town center. I would assume he would be. It's the sort of play that we've been seeing from the military wing, where players look to go up with the military wing. They get down a second TC, despite not having Fertile Crescent. And then they just play it out in Age 2 with some horsemen, with some spears, with some archers. And Abbasid, they're quite happy to do that because of boot camp.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure if that's the best strategy against an English player when, you know, usually for the Abbasid Dynasty, whether you're playing English or otherwise, usually when you get out of Feudal, you're doing all right. You know, you can make all of the units that you necessarily need to. And we see a lot of military wings in Castle Age just because you get those 2 camel riders, maybe not so effective against English. But for him instead, he's going to be going a little bit more aggressive. And actually with these 2 spears and 2 archers, maybe he can delay just a little bit of pressure that's going in front of him, because as soon as that council hall is done, and it is done at the 420 mark, blaze it, he will get about 2 or 3 longbowmen out probably by the time that the 2 spearmen and the 2 archers from the Abbasid Dynasty come out. So he will be able to delay this, but RecoN's going to take the fight a little bit closer to B, so his economy back home isn't exactly under duress from minute 5.
Interestingly, now RecoN is going to be retreating back with that force. Maybe he was trying to get out here a little bit earlier than he wanted to. I mean, Because at the moment, what have you exactly gotten from this age up? Because usually when we see players with the 2 archers, 2 spears, they like to put on some early pressure and try and delay a second TC, possibly. We see this a lot up against the Holy Roman Empire. But so far, this army hasn't really done too much. We see RecoN going to be moving out once again now. It seems like he's a little bit unsure.
Yeah, with the military wing, I mean, when you get those 2 spears and 2 archers just immediately, I think one of the best ways the military wing can pay off is the immediate tempo swing. Just like you talked about against the HRE. If you have 2 spears and 2 archers, you're able to disrupt HRE, doing HRE things. For English, kind of the same thing. I was hoping for RecoN, maybe you're able to get those units a little bit quicker. You can get them over to the English base a little bit quicker. But look at what B's doing on the western side of his base. It just looks like a little proxy base. He has all of his military production right there in an area for an English player where he does not have network of castles in this area if a fight happens here.
I think he's still got enough army here, though, to deal with this. 7 longbow is more than enough. And the 3 spears should be able to hold against the horsemen here. And I mean, B, for the time being, isn't going for a second TC behind this. But then again, RecoN isn't either. So, not what we're used to seeing here from either civilizations. I mean, primarily the Abbasid dynasty is a civilization known for a second TC, but that may be changing now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we just saw a couple of villagers from RecoN going to stone. So more of that delayed second town center if he was choosing to do something like that. But now B, I think just because of him going to one town center, he wants to take it to the Abbasid and Feudal, and I don't blame him. This is the Abbasid's kind of weakest spot. So let's see if those longbowmen are able to do a decent amount of damage. He's got 10 total. He's able to pick off villagers, assuming there's no textiles from RecoN. B will be able to take him out with the longbowmen. I mean, if he's able to disrupt the Abbasid dynasty and Feudal, I'd give him the favorite in this game.
He does have to be careful moving out, though. You know, he's only got 4 spears, and if RecoN looks to target those out, he does have down an archery range and is making some archers. You know, if this army just gets completely wiped up, we've seen this time and time again, where the English behind that just aren't able to recover up against the civilization on 2 TCs. So, B just going to be falling back for the time being once again, doesn't want to overcommit here, as RecoN is going very heavy on the cavalry here.
And I'm glad you mentioned about English specific, getting into bad fights and all that kind of stuff, because look at what they have in their army composition. They have longbowmen, they have spearmen. The first men-at-arms for B actually got queued. The thing about all of those units is they are slow. If they end up taking a fight that's disadvantageous, they can't necessarily retreat. Look at all the horsemen here from the Abbasid dynasty. He's got 9, he's got 1 in the queue. They'll be able to chase them all down.
Yeah, exactly. It's not even like these are regular archers. These are longbow. They're even slower than your normal archer. So it's mainly the English that have this sort of struggle. But we see B going to be luring in that boar, but RecoN, you know, he's not exactly got his whole army here, so won't be able to punish this whatsoever for the time being. We'll need to be careful. B trying to pick off that scout right there, but unfortunately not going to be able to find it. RecoN back at home, still slowly making his way towards that second TC. It seems like he really isn't rushing towards it. He just wants to slowly gather up the stone. In fact, only has 3 workers on there. That's really interesting, because usually we see players, when they go for a second TC, they want to just rush it up as fast as they can to start getting those extra villagers through. But RecoN, he's taking a little bit of a different approach here, looking to build up a little bit more army first. And just take it a little bit slow here as we see B. He doesn't have many spears in here. Only has the 4 spears. And this is what we were talking about earlier. If this army gets wiped up, this could be catastrophic for B.
Look at that huge flank from the horsemen, too, on the west side. They have enough horsemen to get us around. B only had about 3 or 4 spearmen in here. Those men-at-arms are still Vanguard. I can see the leather helmets on them. Oh my, this is disastrous for B. RecoN can now push this issue against the English in Feudal at a time when we thought it was going to happen on the other side, completely opposite.
Yeah, this is great for RecoN. He's going to be able to push B away from these high income resources, such as the boar here. He's going to be able to start to put some pressure on maybe even the proxy base here. And behind this, RecoN is now adding in his second TC. He could even think about a third TC at this point, just to really secure that villager advantage, as he's got enough military here to hold for, you know, for at least the next 5 minutes.
To be honest, I've seen this once or twice from the Abbasid dynasty. When you're going military wing, that pulled pork by the mill isn't look like it's going to be getting any food on it whatsoever. Still has 1,400 left on its carcass. But for the Abbasid, they go for military wing. They get the map control like the Abbasid did. He took a really good fight, and now he's able to boom behind it at a time when the English, I mean, you have longbowmen, you have a couple men-at-arms. You don't have a force to raid right now. So RecoN can just sit, continue to boom, do the Abbasid thing, and then all of a sudden we're going to check back at the economic count 5 minutes later in the game and see RecoN's up by 15.
Interestingly, RecoN hasn't grabbed his bootcamp upgrade, so despite taking an amazing fight earlier on, didn't actually make use of the military wing here whatsoever. The only thing that he's grabbed from this age up so far is the fact he got an extra 2 archers and 2 spears upon aging. So you gotta really question, was the military wing really worth it here? I would have said sure if he had this upgrade and he took a fight where this upgrade really made the difference, but so far it doesn't seem like that's been the case. So maybe the economic wing may have been the better choice here, but obviously we're still sticking it out here in the Feudal Age, so maybe we do see this upgrade coming through a little bit later on.
You know what a big problem I could see from B is? Because over on the western side, just where RecoN's units are pushing, there's the council hall and there's the barracks. All you have to do is camp these areas. There's no town center over here that's going to fire at you or anything like that. So as long as RecoN can have the map control in that area, he takes down this initial longbowman mass, although it is getting a little bit in the critical side, about 22 longbowmen and continuing to get queued up. But if he's able to camp around this area, not allow a mass to happen, could be huge.
There's no spears here for B, though. He's moving out again. Sure, he's got 20 longbow and 3 men-at-arms in here, which have now been upgraded to the early phase. But where are the spears? RecoN's still got 9 cavalry, 9 horsemen out on the field. Still got 16 archers. Is B's army just going to get wiped up once again here? Because I feel like that could be the case. Oh, man.
Yeah, I think it might be, but B has the critical mass of longbowmen where he's able to pick off a lot of those horsemen. House of Wisdom, as you can see there, going with Culture Wing in Castle Age. Going to be able to preserve that knowledge, write all that stuff down to get a little bit of decreased resources on the technologies that he has. But look at what RecoN is doing over on the west side. I think he's trying to get a little bit of a flank. B's pulling some villagers, going for that outpost right next to the wood line, disabling that wood line, giving him the network of castles. I'm not sure if RecoN spent a lot of resources going up to Castle Age. And he's not producing any military right now.
I think he's just waiting for men-at-arms. We see he's dropped down double barracks here on the back line of his base. So I'd assume as soon as the age up comes through, we'll see a lancer and some men-at-arms in the queue. Maybe even some more archers. Maybe even the veterancy upgrade for these guys. Could be an answer here for him. I don't think this is going to be the push B's looking for here. I don't think he's expecting this age up coming through from RecoN.
Yeah, I think it's going to be quite the shock when he does see that happening, and then RecoN trying to get some reinforcements from the English. As we all know, when you play against the English, just because those units are slow, you might be able to pick off 1 or 2. But B's going to start doing his push over there and doing a longbowman raid over there on the south side as well. I don't think there's enough torches that will take this town center down. But for RecoN, also in Castle Age, you got to think about composite bows for those archers.
That is true. Yeah, composite bows is in the tier 2 military wing. And I've got to say, B at the moment, he's doing a decent job when it comes to villager kills. We see he's up to 7. But RecoN still has a 2 villager lead. We see he's taking out quite a few of the men-at-arms with just that TC fire. And now we see the men-at-arms in the queue here for RecoN, as well as the lancers from both stables here. And RecoN, he's already got his tier 1 range defense. So, you know, longbows aren't going to be doing too much damage here, especially as they're still stuck in the Feudal Age up against men-at-arms or lancers. And B, again, he's got no spears in here whatsoever. How is he going to be able to deal with this? Neither of these units deal with lancers or men-at-arms.
Yeah, especially if the Castle Age variety men-at-arms. Now all RecoN has to do is just mass enough of them. You know, I mean, he's got 3 men-at-arms out on the field right now and 2 lancers. Just got to make sure you get a group of them because of how many longbowmen are here. They could get picked off if they just come out one at a time. But you see that one lancer getting the charge in, the one men-at-arms as well. Those longbowmen have to continue to kite back and forth. And they do a good job of picking off some of the archers, as you can see the longbowmen doing. But those heavy units are still just raining hell on that mass. Military count, B still has the lead, but again, this is more of a quality over quantity situation.
I mean, B's doing a decent job still when it comes to villager kills. But he's still behind just because RecoN is on the 2 TCs. He's also got fresh food stuff, so it's not like he's missing out on a lot of food when he loses out on builds. And I'm not sure what B's plan is here when RecoN's in the Castle Age. And we just see B, he's trying to mass up just enough, as you say, critical longbowman mass to be able to pick off these lancers and men-at-arms. But we just see that. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough.
Well, the thing is for B2, where it seems like he's perpetually in feudal, right? If he stops making units, you know that the Abbas is going to be able to break out, and they're going to be able to go over to the English base. The armored units will do well against the English town center fire, and then all of his villagers get raided. So he has to keep producing units, B does. And you can see he's got about 250 food in the bank, maybe hovering around 300. But if he stops making these things, the game ends. So he's really, really on a clock right now, Merlin. He's probably got about 3 or 4 minutes to do a huge amount of damage to the Abbasid dynasty, or this game is over.
Yes, I mean, usually when we see these sort of plays from, all-in strategies up against the Castle Age, you have to deny away food. We see here, RecoN, he's got 10 workers on the deer. He's got 13 over here on the berries. B at the moment isn't denying away food, which means RecoN, he can get out these high resource units, heavily armored. He's also got a mangonel out now, and this is going to be a huge problem for B. He has nothing to deal with the mangonel.
Yeah, that's usually a huge power spike for the Abbasid, especially getting to Castle Age. His economy is actually relatively untouched. And B's on the other side getting raided by a Lancer over here. That's 8 villagers idle time that he would rather have out on the fields. Now we're at a mass, Merlin. Now we're at a mass of those armored units where B is starting to retreat. He knows he can't take this fight. Yeah. And if he does take it, his military is going to get wiped. Big Mango.
Oh, a huge hit onto the longbow. It looks like B, he's not even trying to expand his longbow here. I mean, yeah, the amount of damage put onto them there, it just means the lancers and men-at-arms will be able to clean that one up. B's up to a huge massive longbow still, but it's not going to be enough. We just see here the men-at-arms with their tier 2 range defense take barely any damage now. And that mangonel will just be able to slowly follow these longbow all the way back to the base of B here. And RecoN behind this, he's up in builds, he's up in military, up in army value by a huge amount. He's up in upgrades now, and it's just looking rough here for B. I'm not sure if there's a way back into this for him.
And look at that, that huge mango shot. Now that his longbowmen are trying to kite, most of them are at about a 3rd health. They're basically going to exsanguinate on the battlefield, whether they're touched or otherwise. So with that big, crucial mango shot, that means B can't stand and take a fight anywhere. Let's not even talk about the armored units. Just the siege superiority is going to make a difference too. And now B, maybe he was trying to macro to castle a little bit. He realized if he stays in feudal, he necessarily can't win this game. But now, for how many units that were taken down, he's continuing to queue more units. Again, he's hanging out in feudal, and I think for him, this game's going to end in feudal for him.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if B was on 2 TCs and he had the same amount of builds, you could think about a possible white tower drop. But in this position as B, you're not exactly going to be getting much from that. Like, sure, you're going to be able to hold on for maybe an extra 10 or so minutes, but you're still going to be a massively behind when it comes to your eco.
Yeah, and just like that starting town center, we talked about it a little bit. Villagers are running for their lives. They have nowhere to go. There's only that one town center. They're going to be going south just a little bit, but that Gatling gun, that MG42, that 3DB starting town center has, you can see all the arrows that are firing on it. we're shooting marshmallows at these guys.
Yeah, not a lot of damage going onto the men-at-arms. We do see they do finally get taken out, but that one men-at-arm has paid itself off with just the idle time here in the TC. And RecoN, we see just idols everywhere right now for B. He's got 23. He's about to lose even more vills inside of these outposts. He's trying his best to stay in here, B, but I don't see any way back. Maybe if he was at a huge villager advantage right now, I would see a way. But he's not. He's just losing so many vills. RecoN, he's even picking up relics behind this. You know, he's looking for every advantage that he can possibly get for the time being. And he's just massing up heavy units. This is exactly what RecoN needs to be doing. Just mass heavy units that can just sit underneath the TC here of B and just idle everything.
And that's exactly what they're doing. That wood line gets raided again on the western side. Villagers starting to scamper for their lives, and their lives will be preserved, at least for this game, because B's going to tap out. It's a 1-0 for RecoN to start out today, Merlin.
Yeah, good stuff there by RecoN. Let's have a look at the graphs. We can just see there, RecoN, he lost a little bit of eco here, but yeah, really not falling too far behind.
No, and I mean, I could appreciate what B was trying to do. He was trying to get aggressive in Feudal. He was really trying to take it to the Abbasid that their weak underbelly is essentially that Feudal Age time where they're getting to boom and do all of those things. He just didn't do enough damage.
Yeah, we can see B's plan here. I mean, I feel like this is the story of the game, because imagine if this was stacked on top of this here. That may have changed everything. You know, that may have been enough for B to deny RecoN from all of his food. If RecoN had no food, that would be no men-at-arms, no lancers. And where does RecoN go from there? But this fight, I think, changed everything here for B.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, that was about, I want to say 20 military units and a decent amount of longbowmen. Because at the time when RecoN hit Castle, I'm pretty sure B had maybe about 30 longbowmen, something like that. Add another 20 to that mix, and I would start to think about going by the side of the longbowmen than the armored units, just because of how many there would be.
But next up, we've got French versus Holy Roman Empire. I mean, if there's any matchup for B to come back into this game, this is going to be the matchup right here. RecoN, he's going to find it hard here. I mean, this is a classic matchup that the French are just so strong in, especially on a map like Dry Arabia, which is B's home pick here.
Yeah, this isn't exactly a quote-unquote HRE favored kind of map to pick. I mean, the ones that are kind of HRE, you think about things like Prairie, you think about all of that kind of stuff. So things where they can get a lot of sheep and they're able to not have a lot of raidable areas. Dry Arabia is known for how open it is. I mean, everyone's played Dry Arabia if you're playing AoE 4, so it's going to be a little bit difficult for the HRE. And I know for French, especially for B, we're probably going to see the same kind of stuff. We're going to see him mill. We're probably going to see him go for those deer, just because against the HRE, you're able to spread out a little bit. And I think B is going to be able to do that. And maybe he could lay the pressure on with Knights. That feudal aggression might be a little bit better in this matchup than the last one we saw.
Yeah, I'd assume B would be going out for the deer. We're going to have to see if he looks to add in a second TC, because after last game, playing one TC English, that's not something we see every day. So maybe B goes in for another all-in Feudal Age with the French. It's definitely viable up against the Holy Roman Empire here. So we have to see what RecoN does. I mean, I want to see a mine work, but I don't think we'll be seeing it here at a RecoN. So I've been seeing some Corvinus games. He was formerly known as Salami. And he's been using the mine work with just all-in Feudal Age. And it's been kind of working, because he's been making prelates from the TC. So his eco is still as strong as it would be otherwise. But he's also got the mine work, which has the... I can't remember the upgrade, but it's a unique upgrade for the Holy Roman Empire in the mine work that gives spearmen and horsemen extra melee defense armor, which is huge up against the French when they've got knights. So I doubt we'll be seeing it, but it's definitely something to keep in mind.
Yeah, it's like chain rivets or something like that. I remember what you're talking about, but I think that's what a lot of people from the HRE or the people who wanted mine work to actually pan out. That's how they theorized it. So we'll see if RecoN does it. Merlin, hit us with that sweet, sweet intro.
All right, so welcome to game number 2 here. B going to be spawning in on the left-hand side of the map in the color orange. Going to be playing his famous French on the map Dry Arabia here. Interestingly, not moving out for the deer, or at least yet. He spots the deer, and there it is. It was just a matter of time before he moved out for those deer. But Tim, who do we have spawning in on the right-hand side?
Oh yeah, spawning in on the eastern side, playing as the color blue, the Holy Roman Empire, using that prelate, spreading the word of their Lord Jesus Christ to all those villagers. It is RecoN. And Merlin, I'm really glad that B went out to get those deer, because my reputation as a caster depended on it. I talked about it for a good solid minute, and I saw him on those sheep, and I'm like, oh my god, what have I done?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a good bet that B will be going for the deer here. Going to be grabbing himself survival techniques as well. It's just so cheap for the French. I found it crazy how this upgrade can be this cheap. 17 wood, 52 gold for an extra plus 15% gather rate on deer and boar. It's huge. But
oh yeah, it's pennies, Merlin.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it costs. How long does it take a villager to gather 10 gold? It's barely anything. It's like a villager mining away for like a minute or so. But B is quite far away from his TC here. Last game when he was playing as the English, the deer was a little bit closer, a little bit less exposed. But then again, you know, you're playing up against the Holy Roman Empire. It's not like they're going to be having longbow or knights out that early. But there's always a possibility that we see some early men-at-arms out of RecoN. Obviously, they're a slow unit. It's going to take a while to get over here. And by that point, B could have a knight or two out, which could counter the men-at-arms. So, yeah, I think B is pretty safe in this position.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that I like about French in general, as you're playing against an HRE opponent who has a inkling to go up to castle before most civilizations, but the French can hold their own in feudal just because of the fact that they have royal knights. Aachen Chapel going down near the Barry is going to be able to touch that sheep as well, and then that wood line over to the western side. But take a look at where RecoN's gold mine is to the north of his base. This looks like one of the most raidable gold mines I've seen in some time.
Yeah, that's a rough one there for RecoN. I'm kind of interested as to why he's placed his Aachen Chapel here. It's like, sure, it gets both woodlines and the berries, but you don't get any of your gold. And as a Holy Roman Empire, you love your gold. So I would have thought this would be the best spot for him, but clearly RecoN has other ideas. Maybe he's just looking to go for heavy farms, and it's much easier to wall up this position rather than going on the northern side here.
Yeah, and I think if the raidable area is going to be on the northern side as well, maybe he delays that hypothetical wood line over there on the western side if he was going to do that. But RecoN doing the good thing against the French, making sure you get that barracks out really quickly. I would assume, just because that Aachen Chapel isn't up north, maybe pushing castle might not be the best idea, especially completely naked. You know, doing a naked fast castle against French. One, I say this joke over and over again, but one, I don't think we could show it on Twitch because of how naked it is. It would break terms of service. And secondly, just having knights run around your base and not having any kind of units to deal with it is a huge issue. RecoN already queuing up spearmen, and then B with a good time with the French school of cavalry too, about 4 minutes 10 seconds. Gonna get that knight out as soon as he possibly can. Probably does a forced drop off to get there. But for the French, when you're in feudal age, every second counts. When you're queuing that knight up, when the knight is actually getting there, when the school of cavalry is actually built. And B, he lost maybe a good 6 or 7 seconds. And I know you might think, if you're the audience, you might think I'm splitting hairs. But when the French need to get the snowball going at the 5.5, 6 minute part of the game, those extra 6 or 7 seconds are huge.
Yeah, they really are. It's the matter of seconds between if this wall gets up or if it doesn't get up. You know, it can really make the difference. We see RecoN is going for just a little bit of a wall. Also going to be dropping down a stable here. Spear's just going to be sitting here on the wood for the time being. Doesn't have anything up here on the gold yet. RecoN. I mean, B's vision hit. That's RecoN's vision. That's B's vision. You can see. Doesn't know about the gold quite yet, but there it is. There it is. He spots it out. B looks like he's only heading towards the south for the time being, though.
And now this should be a signal to B. If you look up at the gold mine for the HRE, you see 2 villagers on it. And then at the end, when that scout was trailing away, you see those 2 villagers pull off. What is he going to be doing? You could think about second town center, but he hasn't on the stone, right? So not necessarily second town center. He's thinking about units. He's trying to make sure he stabilizes in Feudal Age, gets his economy going. And with those 3 or 4 spearmen over there on the south side, with the carefully placed wall to the north betwixt the 2 wood walls, RecoN's in a good defensive position right now.
Yeah, he really is. And we see he's already got some horsemen out for the inevitable archers coming out from B. He's only got a couple out for the time being. But RecoN, he's feeling pretty happy about his defense so far. Neither player moving out for any sort of stone yet. So, kind of an interesting one from B. I would have thought he would be thinking about a second TC by this point in time. Usually we do see a delayed second TC out of the French. It's something we see. It's very common. But B not looking to go for that approach this game. Maybe looking to add it in a little bit later, but we speculated about this earlier, right? That B could just be going for an all-in Feudal Age here.
Yeah, because I mean, usually as French, if you're going for a second town center, you'll make 2 knights. You're able to raid in 2 different places. Get the opponent to focus on their base while you're gathering stone, and then you're going to town center behind it. B is not looking to do that at all. He's just trying to make as many knights as possible, as many archers as possible, and just take it to the HRE. What RecoN's doing, he's adding farms in around that Aachen Chapel. I see 1, obviously around that prelate megaphone, that Aachen Chapel that we talk about. It just means he doesn't have to go outside for a lot of those Gaia food resources that would end up getting raided. So this is a good move by RecoN if he wants to preserve the health of his villagers. But his first worker kill for B, you saw that going down on some of those berries. So economic count a little bit higher for B just because of the French production time with those villagers.
This is the problem playing up against the French as the Holy Roman Empire, right? Because you're just stuck in your base here. You're not on a second TC. And B, he's just happy to keep on putting the aggression on because he knows he's slowly going to be building up that villager lead. Whether you get in a raid or not, your passive French town centers, they're going to be slowly building up a lead. We see B already 4 vills ahead. It's kind of huge.
And if we're looking at where RecoN's walling, I mean, he's walling on the south end, which is good, just to make sure, you know, no raids are coming in from that side. But looking at where he's walling, where is he going to get gold right now? You know, he has that top gold mine. I'm not seeing any other gold icons inside of RecoN's walls.
Yeah, I've got to say his gold spawn here has been a little bit unlucky. Usually we do see some sort of gold around the back of the base here. But his next gold that isn't in the base is all the way up to the north here. So, yeah, that could be a little bit of a problem for him. See, RecoN is going to be able to get up these walls. Should be able to just quick wall this one. Be trying to get through, but yeah, going to be denied away there. RecoN maybe even be able to find a little bit more damage. And those knights starting to get a little bit low now. B going to be adding in that chivalry. And B?
Yeah, you see that RecoN villager on the south side? He had his Nikes on, boy. Trying to get all the way over there to get those walls built. It does so effectively. Now look at what B's doing with his army composition. You can see it on the top left part of your screen under B's name. Starting to add a couple of spearmen, and this is one of the things, if you're a lower elo player and you're French, somehow you're struggling with HRE, that's a perfectly acceptable thing that happens. You might want to add a couple spearmen. You know what HRE is going to do. They're going to get spears and they're going to get horsemen. If you keep going with knights and archers, you're going to be beating your head against the wall. B knows that, adds a barracks, adds a couple spearmen. This is really going to help him out, and it's going to force the HRE if he wants that counter to transition into an archery range.
RecoN is trying to put some pressure on here, but I mean, you have to be so careful. We've got 7 Royal Knights here. RecoN only has 8 spears here. B, he's got plenty of archers to be able to one-shot these spears. I mean, luckily for RecoN, he's got some good mobility here, but he needs to be careful.
Yeah, look at how RecoN's splitting up his army. He's using his horsemen like to raid a little bit, but the reason why the army compositions are so good is when they're good together. You know, with the horsemen, they're able to protect the spearmen from the archers that are going to be there. The spearmen are protecting the horsemen from the knights and that kind of stuff. If you're able to break them up, then you isolate them. You see a group of 4 or 5 knights get a charge on one of RecoN's horsemen, and they go down. The archers were chasing the spearmen. It makes RecoN need to back up all the way back into his base yet again, where it looks like he's going to the drawing board, adding a couple archery ranges.
Yeah, he's going to have to. We see B's mass looking really, really strong here. RecoN has actually lost out on just a couple horsemen. Some more damage has been put onto some of these as well. So you've got to be really careful if you're RecoN here. And this is where, you know, I love to theorize about the mine work, because I do think it's a good landmark. We see here the Ark and Chapel for RecoN not really providing too much. You know, they're buffing up about the same amount as one prelate would be at the moment. Just these 8 villagers gathering from food. If you had a mine work down right now, not only do you have cheaper upgrades, but you also have unique upgrades to have an extra 2 melee defense armor on your spears and your horsemen.
I am going to disagree with you. I just don't like the mine work. I don't think it's very good. But now RecoN having some idle time, I want to get into why I don't think it's very good. But those spearmen getting absolutely kited by those archers. Town Center trying to help them out, take down a couple French archers. Military count has been staying pretty much equal out of both of these guys, but look at what B is doing just in the numbers of composition. He's adding those spearmen, making sure he has enough archers to take down a decent amount of spearmen from the HRE. But oh, we got a good horseman right here, Merlin.
Unfortunately, it's not going to be enough. Horsemen, they're not like knights. They can't 2-hit villagers here. They take a lot of hits. And, you know, B, he's got a few spears in here, but it looks like he may get a nice wrap around here. And I'm not sure what B is trying to do with these workers, but he doesn't lose any right there. So, you know, not a big deal for him. RecoN at the moment, he's still building up a nice mass of archers. Something we've been seeing a lot out of the Holy Roman Empire recently. It seems to be every Holy Roman Empire game that I've casted within the last 2 weeks has involved Feudal Age archers. It's really weird, but it also works.
Yeah, I remember we talked about this last week. We say the joke, oh, an HRE archery range, you know, like, oh my God, how rare is that? But now we see it in literally every single game. So maybe it's not as rare as we think, but this is what happens when you get into this middle feudal to late feudal kind of area where you got to make all of rock, paper, and scissors, or you're going to lose every engagement that you're in. B noticed that first, adding some spearmen. RecoN had to follow suit and add archers just to make sure he had the counter. Now B's forces, it looks like just about all of his knights are conglomerating now between these 2 wood lines. RecoN's doing a good job of not having an overchop over there on the west side. Now we're going to see if those Aachen wheat fields are going to get preserved. We'll see how far B wants to take this fight.
I'm not sure if RecoN's got enough spears in here. B's mass is looking super scary here. We see he's got all of his blacksmith upgrades in. RecoN still lacking a lot of them, and that could be the game changer here. Knight's going to be up against horsemen. Horsemen just get absolutely obliterated. Archers still up for B. We see he's focusing down all of the spears. RecoN down to 4. 2 spears now. And B, he's still got 14 knights left on the field. RecoN now having to retreat back from his farms. His Ark and Chapel being useless at the moment. And RecoN, it's looking rough for him. His food economy. He's got no food. He's got a second TC coming down on the deer pack. But if B spots this one out, this could be catastrophic for him.
Yeah, and I think if we want to look in the intricacies of that fight, obviously for RecoN, he had the town center helping him out a little bit. But RecoN, he did have a lot of archers, and he still does. But they weren't doing too much. You're exactly right with the upgrades. You know, he does have Steeled Arrow now, so it'll be able to help him out a little bit. But with all of these archers, 16 archers, it's not going to do anything against something like knights. And B only has maybe like 3 or 4 spearmen, because all you want to do is make sure that RecoN's horseman doesn't get the surround. So those archers, they don't really seem like they're doing too much. RecoN knows that he's a little bit behind in the economic count. He's lost a couple villagers, and he's been dealing with French for about 14.5 minutes. So adds that second town center. B sees it almost immediately, and this is the most torchable town center that we've seen today.
Yeah, it really is. I don't see this town center staying up. RecoN, he's still sitting at 2 spears. I'm not sure what the plan is here for him. He's not making any units. And that's because he doesn't have any food. He was hoping that he could gather from the deer here. But that's not going to be the case. Town Center Fire isn't going to be able to take out many of the units here. Does have emergency repairs. So that he's got that at least. But RecoN, I feel like he's just going to be losing out on a load of eco here.
Yeah, I mean, the emergency repairs is nice. He did have to break the glass in case of emergency, so did get the build. But again, this is just idle time, right? 43 villagers, 10 are sitting there idle in the town center. They took out maybe a spearman, maybe a knight, a couple archers, something like that. But it's about all of that idle time. You could see the food per minute, just like you belabored a little bit before with RecoN at about, he's got a lot of villagers on it, but he's got about 300 per minute. RecoN does not have the military, not only card position or numbers to deal with this. These are free Knight Lancer charges. You could hear those lances shatter on those archers, and they end up becoming manure for these wheat fields.
I feel like at this point, B can literally just sit underneath Beast or RecoN's town center here. RecoN just doesn't have enough spears in here to deal with these knights. The knight's just going to be able to kill absolutely everything. And I think at that point, B is more than happy to just sit underneath this town center. Sure, he's going to be taking a lot of arrow fire, but RecoN's going to have no economy left. He's going to have no food income. And behind this, you could look towards just massing up more units, to be honest. Maybe even siege engineering at this point in time, just to get out a ram, try and take out one of these town centers, possibly. Oh, we just see here RecoN losing it on so many workers. He's lost 9 this game. He's tried to recover here with the second TC, but at the moment just hasn't found a lot of value with it. And RecoN, what is going on here? Oh my goodness.
Merlin, look at the military count. It's 48-1. There was one prelate. There weren't enough thoughts and prayers to take out 48 French military units. RecoN knows it. He's like, I am done with this. I need to get to a game 3 and maybe a better matchup. B ties this one up rather convincingly.
Yeah, very well played there by B. French on his home map, Arabia. I mean, yeah, I would say that he was feeling pretty confident about that one going into it.
Yeah, I mean, for the HRE, it wasn't the best spawn in the world. I mean, I hate to be that guy and to blame everything on RNG and on spawn, but, that gold spawn, not that great. I feel like for RecoN, especially for HRE, you kind of need to, it feels like you got to make a decision. You're either going to go with military or you're going to go with a second TC and you're going to put military up a little bit before then. I don't know. Maybe it was a little indecisiveness. What do you think?
I'm not exactly sure, to be honest. We can see here B's just way ahead on food and gold, and that's what it really came down to with the knights. So many knights. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, but that ties the series right now. It's now 1-1. Let's see what map we're going to be on. It is the Pit, and look at that matchup. We have the Rus up against the Chinese. Boo, China, boo.
Is that the right way? Is that the right way around? Because B's got Chinese in his civ picks, and RecoN's got Rus in his civ picks. Unless I'm getting confused here.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Petito's trying to pull a fast one on us. It's not April Fool's. It's June.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure this is RecoN playing the Rus and B playing the Chinese. But I will check. What are your thoughts on this matchup, though? Because it will be Rus versus Chinese.
Yeah, this one I usually don't like when I'm queuing. Me and you are both Rus mains. That's why we're such good friends. And when I'm queuing into China, I usually don't enjoy myself. Whether I'm playing any civ, I don't really like queuing into China. But with this one in particular, I mean, in a Feudal Age, they can boom better if they do something like Song Dynasty. Rus usually will go for a second town center. You do have early knights in Feudal Age, so it might be able to help you against if they wanted to do something like a Zug New Rush or something in that regards. When it comes to Castle Age, not having the siege superiority as Rus seems to be a decent issue. They're unique units in Castle Age for the Rus. They're horse archers, usually not that great against China. If they have something like Zugnu, they'll rip apart horse archers, so you usually don't see them in this kind of build. And the Chinese using palace guards actually end up being a somewhat decent unit, believe it or not. I mean, you have the palace guards and you mix in a little bit of spearmen in there too. They can do a really good job against something like a Knight Archer combo that Roos might like to do in Castle Age, add the clock tower siege from China, and it becomes a huge issue. And I agree with Ace McClyde in chat that this could be a long game. It absolutely could, in not only the pit being the map, but for the Roos, usually the only way they're going to get any kind of siege superiority whatsoever is if they go high armory in Imperial Age, right? Because then their Springolds have a little bit more range. And even though you're dealing with Clock Tower Springolds, having that little bit of range might be able to help you out. So Roos might want to extend the game, be a little long game. China's like, hey, you want to play late game, bro? I'll see you 35 minutes into this game. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, we can actually see that it is going to be the other way around. RecoN going to be playing as the Roos, B going to be on the Chinese. Yeah, as you say, this definitely could be a long game. The pit is sort of known for that. But I think the Roos, Roos is a really, really good civ on this map. Yeah, but China, again, as you say, is really good in the late game. So we'll have to see. But RecoN, he could... I mean, I think B could go for an all-in H2 play again. We've seen it the last 2 games. One of them has worked out well for him. Do you think we could possibly see like a all-in Chukanu rush?
I mean, it is possible. The one thing that really helps the Roos in that regard is the Kremlin, right? Instead of the Golden Gate like it used to be for seasons of old, having the Kremlin as that defensive structure not only gives it the ability to have, it has all of the technologies, right? So it has arrow slits, it has castle watch, it has castle turret. So it actually does a good job of disintegrating Zugnu if it's able to, just because of how hard those arrows actually hit. And it's a difficult landmark to get down. It's 5,000 HP. You can use those Kremlin gremlins, although they don't necessarily do well against Zugnu. They might do well against some of the front line that Chinese has if they choose to do spears or something like that. So, I mean, there's definitely potential for B to do that. And I have seen it work. So we'll see. I mean, B's been going feudal aggression for the past 2 games. I wouldn't put it past him to do it again in game 3.
We're just about ready to jump into this third and final game between RecoN and B. So let's head on over. All right, welcome to the third and final game between RecoN and 3DB. 3DB going to be spawning in on the right-hand side of the map, playing as the Chinese here on the pit.
And his opponent playing in the color blue and playing as the Roos, it is RecoN. And what's RecoN trying to do here? He does a drop off and he's going to put 2 hunting cabins in Dark Age, something that we actually narrated this last week when we watched Marine Lord. He did put his 2 hunting cabins up. Remember that Marine Lord versus Wham game? Goes with the 2 hunting cabins to start. And just because of the way the wood lines work on the pit, we're going to see how much these hunting cabins actually get. And I remember from that past game with Marine Lord, they get about 30-ish without any bounty whatsoever. So that hunting cabin getting 32, I would imagine that other one getting about 30 as well. So 32 exactly. Wow, they're twins. So 64 gold per minute. A usual relic is 80. So it's just about getting a relic at the start of the game. Really good Roos build.
I like it a lot, but have a look at what B's done here. He's gone for a second scout. So he's going to be trying to deny away some bounty here from RecoN. And RecoN, he's only on the 1 scout. He's not making any more from the hunting cabins.
Yeah, this is blowing my mind.
Is this going to be an 80 bounty game?
It's shaping up to be. It could have the potential. You got to remember those Chinese scouts. They're Tang Dynasty scouts. They have a little bit more vision. So they're going to be able to see things like wolves. They're going to be able to see things like deer packs that are a little bit better than those Muscovite scouts over there from RecoN. The second one is queued up in one of the hunting cabins, and it will be coming out. But Merlin, we're 2 minutes into this game. That scout just hit the battlefield.
So late. RecoN hasn't even got tier 1 bounty, and we can tell that because his villagers, they're not lighting up over here. Oh, this could be terrible for him. B, he's going to be able to clean up some of these wolves. He should be able to get this one. Oh, I think RecoN almost got that one. Oh, this is terrible for him. We see B already cleaned up a lot of the deer. He's got some deer back in the base. We're going to have to see if RecoN can race B over there. He's got 2 scouts on the way. It does look like he's heading over there now. So, oh, this could be really, really bad for RecoN. If he doesn't get tier 1 even, I would be tempted to call GG.
Oh my god. A Rus without any kind of tier on their bounty, that's what nightmares are made of, especially for me. And he's fighting over deer. You see a little +1. He's got to pull 2 scouts. RecoN only has 2, so his 2 scouts are in the same place. Not something you want to do if you're playing as the Rus. And one of the things about the hunting cabins and getting both of them, getting them so early, means you can save and not put a scout out of your town center. You can put him in the hunting cabin instead. Look at what B's doing. Those Chinese villagers, he's like, scouts don't need to take these out. I can do them my damn self.
Yeah, I mean, this is smart out of B. I like it a lot. You know, just trying to deny his way away as much bounty as possible. RecoN still not at tier 1. Hopefully, these deer here will be able to bring him in enough. There we go. Finally does get tier 1. I mean, on a map like the Pit with tier 1, it's still rough. It's still rough. But at least he got tier 1. If he didn't even get tier 1, you know, that would be it, right? I mean...
Well, you got to remember, like, you're going up against China, right? You need some of all of the economic health that you possibly can, and getting something like at least tier 2 bounty is going to help you out. Now, that Kremlin over there on the western side, I know that you alluded to it just a little bit ago. We can see where it's placed. It's near the gold mine, so it'll be able to help him out. Not necessarily near the stone. Usually some Rus players, if they want to put and go for a second town center, they'll put that Kremlin near the stone. Maybe against China, you don't necessarily need to do that. Maybe they won't get too aggressive until about 3 or 4 minutes when that town center is actually hit. But we'll see if RecoN actually goes for town center number 2, or because that's near the gold, maybe he just goes up to castle and says, forget feudal.
It's definitely possible on a map like this, right? Because you got the high trade house. And in a position maybe here, you'll be able to get this wood line in as well. You can get a really good high trade house. But in saying that, RecoN, he's only at tier 1. We come back to this again. He's only at tier 1 bounty. That high trade house isn't going to be making you that much compared to tier 2. And for those actually wondering, tier 1 is 100 bounty, tier 2 is 250 bounty, and then tier 3 is 500 bounty. So hopefully that can put you into perspective as to where RecoN's at the moment. It's really not a lot of bounty.
Yeah, we know for Rus, obviously, it's all about the bounty. Going for that stone over there on the south side. You got to think, though, for the high trade house and all hunting cabins in general, you got to remember, as you escalate up in bounty, it means your hunting cabins tick more often. So it's every few seconds a little bit reduced for those hunting cabins to get gold. And that's why the high trade house wouldn't be as advantageous if he was able to get that. Now, Barbican of the Sun for B, a little bit to the north. One of the nice things is he has that deer patch over there to the northeast, and he can pull that delectable pork product over to that Barbican. And that is a good food economy for B, especially in that feudal to early castle age where Chinese might struggle a little bit before they get their granary farm transition going. So this is huge for B. I really like this Barbican.
Yeah, it's a really nice Barbican. You also sort of secure up a lot of these resources behind the base as well, just because you've got quite a bit of vision. Obviously, it's not huge. But, you know, with a little wall over here, you pretty much secure up this large gold mine behind the base, as well as the stone, you know, this little gold mine. So much food behind here as well, so really nice position. Much better than on the right-hand side here, where, you know, there's not a lot, really. So, I like the position. B also going to be moving out now for the stone, bringing the Imperial official to bring resources out of thin air into this world. So, it does look like he will be able to, well, he will be losing a villager here, but RecoN... Oh, man, that feels bad. I hate it when that happens. The scout starts running around the stone. Oh, man.
Yeah, that early knight rather play a ring around the rosy than try to take down one of these villagers. But one of the things for B, he didn't have his barracks up. Now RecoN using those Kremlin militia, those little feisty gremlins, feeding them after midnight. Gonna go all the way up there to that wood line as well, just before he starts getting some spearmen. One of the great things, even though he was late for the barracks, one of the things that's so frustrating is Chinese. You can see the IO supervising that barracks. He's able to get spearmen out just about, I think it's every either 6 or 7 seconds, you're able to pop out a spearman and get the technology, which just it's such a recoverable process, right? So you didn't prepare, you didn't put the barracks down, but because you're able to use the IO to supervise, you're able to clean it up lickety split.
Yeah, that's what's so strong about the Imperial officials, right? If this was any other civilization, B would still be sitting here for at least another 30 seconds waiting for either the spears or the upgrade to come in to be able to return back to the stone here. But, you know, Chinese being China, they're able to supervise these up, get out the spears, and return back to the stone here. So he's not going to be that far behind when it comes to his second TC. As we do already see RecoN, he's building his one here on the deer pack. Also going to be going for the boar as well. And I love the fact he's done this. He's actually lured it over to the wood line. So when he drops down his hunting cabin, he's going to be able to get that juicy gold income from it as well.
Yeah, and commonly you'll see the boar getting pushed towards the town center, but that would cost him a little bit of gold. So he used the hunting cabin, maybe a little bit greedier, but because of that boar, he's now at 180 bounty now. So it is 80 bounty, you just got to put a 1 in front of it.
Looks like RecoN's also adding in some archers here. Just trying to really deny away B from that stone, but he's got enough in the bank. Just needs a little bit more wood now. We're going to have to see where he drops down that TC. I would expect it to be somewhere on the northern side here. Maybe on this deer pack. Maybe even just drops it in the base here. We're going to have to see, but yeah, there it is. In between the base and the deer pack. But RecoN, he's back with the knight once again. B going to be able to guard this, though, with his spears. He doesn't have down any other production for the time being. Can only make the archers. It does need, can only make these spears. So does need to be careful of these archers.
Yeah, those archers, just the fact that they exist, only 2 of them, is so incredibly important. That means the spearmen can't chase them to the ends of the earth, and they will be a little bit damaged. So if they do take a straight one-on-one fight, maybe the knight might be able to clean up 1 or 2 of them. But now second town center going down for B over here on the north side. You can see just based on where his resources are, his food, rather unrateable because of the town centers and the Barbican. Wood, rather unrateable because of the town center. This is a very difficult spot for the Roost player because you went with a stable, you went with early knights, you want to get some villager kills, and you can look on the bottom left-hand part of your screen in the overview statistics. There's no worker kills there, Merlin.
I mean, hopefully RecoN can try and pick some villagers off here. Maybe even an Imperial official just being, you know, doing what they do best and just committing suicide. Maybe he can try and pick off one of these guys. But RecoN's going to need to find some villager kills because B at the moment, he's on 2 TC. He's on Song Dynasty. He's going to be slowly finding that villager lead. We see he's already ahead by 4 villagers. And RecoN's had that second TC up longer. A little bit of a population problem for him for the time being as he has called in some militia here. They'll be looking to take out that scout.
Yeah, you see from the housing, even though it's a little mistakes, it happens to the best of us, right? Getting the supply cap. But RecoN's got to make a decision here. He's got 4 knights. He's got 11 archers. He's continuing to produce. He's made his decision to go with feudal aggression. And to be honest, I think that's the best case that RecoN could really do. The longer you let this go from B, you're on 2 TC Song, the faster you're going to be down by like 25 to 30 economic count. So it's all about taking it to him as fast as possible. Going to be using the militia just more so as a nuisance, trying to create a little bit of idle time, which is going to help. But B notices he's going to be having a little bit of aggression. He saw the decent amount of archers, and the knights went 2 archery ranges, and I am quite sure we're going to see some Zugnu popping out any day.
And this is a problem for RecoN, right? Because Chukanu, they're just going to be able to be spammed out here from B. We see dropping down another 2 in the back. Also making more horsemen. And there it is, Blacksmith going to get dropped down. B needs the +1 ranged attack to be able to do any sort of damage to the early knights here. But B, if he gets up a decent mass of Chukanu, they're able to pretty easily kill early knights here. And you got to remember, TC Fire here, the little gunpowder shot, also does a lot of damage to heavy units. So RecoN, it's going to be tricky for him. It looks like he may be looking towards a castle age now, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like from RecoN, again, this might be a little bit of indecisiveness because he was queuing units. And now all of a sudden he's kind of hoarding his resources. B trying to get a little bit of an increased lead on that economic count, going for a little bit of horseman raid. That hunting cabin, though, no wooden fortress around it. That's the one thing. That boar getting pulled over there to the west side. A little bit greedy because of that. Villagers have to idle out yet again. He's only about 100 gold away from castle, and I think for RecoN, maybe he's doing this level of, I want to call it indecisiveness, but maybe it's not so much. Maybe it's a ploy. And the reason why is he gets up to castle while B is continuing just to make units as much as possible. And then he's like, oh, crap, my Zugnu don't really do too much in the castle age. RecoN's doing exactly that. Abbey of the Trinity. Merlin, I'm actually kind of discouraged because I thought we were going to see a high trade house, and I thought we were going to start guessing.
Yeah, it's an odd decision here, in my opinion, going for this Slamog. I know you're on tier 1 bounty here, RecoN, but Abbey of the Trinity, High Trade House, sorry, is still such a good landmark. You could easily get 2 relics worth with that landmark. And you got to remember, you also get slow deer trickles with that. That can provide you more bounty, more gold, and a food source. And you could still probably pick up some relics behind this.
Yeah, I think that's the only way for RecoN to actually improve his bounty at this point, right? Is if he had high trade house. But with the Abbey, what is nice, just because he's Castle Age first, he's able to get some of these relics. You know, he does have a few safe relics over there on the eastern side. Looks like no players even touched the eastern side of the map. Really focused on this western corridor, essentially. So maybe he's able to pick up more and have 3 relics in that Abbey of the Trinity, make it a true Trinity. And you get those sweet, sweet Warrior Monk upgrades. So maybe we'll see a decent amount of Saint's Blessing coming out in Castle Age. But be macroed very, very well. And one of the things, again, the Chinese, that's going to save you is you put a decent amount of villagers to build this. They build so quickly. That clock tower might go up. Has to cancel it, however. There is a Muscovite mass over here on the western side near that Barbican that is able to be seen. If RecoN wants to put the pressure on, he's got a little bit of time until these upgrades come in. But once he does, especially with Castle Age Knights, they're able to do a lot better against Chukanu than an early Knight would.
Yeah, I feel like the plan here is just go a lot to mass up these Warrior Monks. Hopefully RecoN can also pick up at least, I mean, with the Abbey of the Trinity, you kind of need all of the relics for it to be viable. I don't know, it just seems, I don't know. It seems like you need a lot of relics for that landmark to pay off. But RecoN, he's going to be pushing into the base here. Doesn't have his veterancy upgrades yet for the archers. Kind of surprising that one coming through so late. He's going to have tier 2 ranged defense though. We see B, he's got the upgrades coming in for the Chukanu. And the thing is, with the Chinese, you can always supervise that up, as we do see there. B pulling the Imperial official to supervise that up. Only 17 seconds away till that upgrade comes through. I mean, RecoN's still finding some value here. Finds some Vil kills, so not going to be the worst here. He's also going to be picking off more spears. But B, he now has through that veterancy upgrade, and this is where it's going to become a little bit trickier for RecoN to push into this base. Just circling around with the knights. He has more in the queue, but B, we can see that villager lead starting to creep out of RecoN's control.
Yeah, and I think for the economic count for both of these players, you got to be thinking about the Rus as a whole, right? They have the hunting cabins to give them the gold. They have the relics that are helping them with the gold. So actually, economically, RecoN is not doing as bad as I thought he would be. He's doing a good job trying to get a little idle time out of B as well. That gold mine a little bit forward might make it more of a rateable target, but B has not done the farm transition yet. He's still going for those outside Gaia food resources. So if RecoN wants to strike, this might be his time. But you see, in B's army composition and his queue, we have a nest of bees that is getting queued by the astronomical clock tower. That clock tower nest of bees, oh man, that'll sting you.
RecoN's still finding some good raids over here though. Looks like he's going to be able to push B off of that food source once again. No, B's had a lot of idle time in this this early castle age here, which RecoN, you know, he's going to be using that to his advantage. Going to be looking to just pick up all the relics, take the sacred sites, continue to make a ton of knights. And he's up to a huge amount now, where he's actually able to get off some huge raids. Textiles is through for B. Oh, huge nest of B shot. Have a look at that. So much damage being put onto the archers right there. Villagers getting pulled as well. It being clock tower has plenty of health on it, where it can be just repaired up like that. And RecoN, he's just lost a lot of army right there. He lost so many knights. He lost so many archers. And all of these are so low on HP.
And you're right. He did get a decent amount of worker kills. I mean, he's got 15 now. So the economic count about 83 to 78. I would argue to say that RecoN's economy is a little bit better just because of the relics and the stuff that he's got. But again, we're going to be talking about siege superiority here. You know, those veteran archers, whether they're in staggered formation or otherwise, they're at about 30%. The Nest of Bees works so synergistically with the Zugnu because look at how quickly these archers are going to be shredded. If they don't back up, they're going to be some dead archers.
RecoN could just think about going for even more cavalry here. This is the point in the game where we start seeing lots of horsemen coming out from the Rus players. Just because, you know, you need to try and find dives on top of the siege here. And it looks like RecoN will be able to find it. Is he going to be able to take it out? Those villagers get pulled to repair it up. Unfortunately, RecoN took it down to about, what, 30 HP right there before it got repaired up. And RecoN behind this, he hasn't grabbed Wire's Fortitude. This upgrade is so important when playing the Rus. Gives all cavalry an extra plus 30 HP. It's why Horseman's much more viable for the Rus than they are for other civilizations. Just because 30 HP for a Horseman is huge. It's
yeah, I mean, Boyar's Fortitude, obviously very important. You see Palace Guards for B. It looks like trying to make his front line. I do want to talk about that Nest of Bees a little bit, because it was at about 15 health before it got repaired. I think that was the most tilting thing that I've seen casting as EGC TV2, to the point where I think my blood pressure went up about 10 points. Not seeing that Nest of Bees go down. Just a rather tilting experience. And look at that IO pulling a Houdini, getting out of there at about 3 health. You know I like calling them magicians, Merlin. That one was definitely a vanishing act.
Yeah, RecoN's got kind of unlucky this game so far when it comes to finding kills on things, but he's still in a decent position, right? He's up in army value still. He's also probably up in economy with 4 relics in the bank, 2 sacred sites captured, as well as, you know, the hunting cabins all over the map. But the problem for him is this mass for beat is really starting to grow here. Plenty of crossbows, plenty of Chukanu, and we've got Nest of Bees. And at the moment, RecoN doesn't have a lot to counter that. He's got a couple of Springalds, but Nest of Bees are surprisingly good at killing Springalds if they're not paying attention. And it also takes 3 shots to kill a Nest of Bee, but RecoN going to be going in here, diving these crossbow, but we just see the amount of damage crossbow are able to do there. And B pulling villagers here, able to take out the first Springald, allowing his Nest of Bees to creep forward here. B up to 4 Nest of Bees now. RecoN could be in some trouble if this left-hand side of the map here gets taken away from him.
Yeah, because he does have a proxy base here with 2 siege workshops, and I think those are the only 2 that RecoN has. So that's the only way he's able to claw back in the siege game. You saw those 2 Springals. Look at Zugnu, an archer mass taking down the Springald. Death by 125 paper cuts, because that's the health of a Springald. The fact that Zugnu can do this, right? They take out siege. We're the point where you're probably watching this at home and you're like, RecoN, just make a Mangonel. You have so many Zugnu, just make a Mangonel. Well, the Zugnu can do that against Mangonels too.
Yeah, and also, Nest of Bees, it takes 3 Nest of Bees to one-shot a Mangonel. That's how crazy these siege units are. It is ridiculous. And we just see there, they're able to do good damage onto a siege workshop. They're really the multi-purpose unit right here. B going to be looking to wall this up now. Maybe looking to try and just capture this sacred site. But yeah, interesting walls coming out from him here. I'm not exactly sure what the plan is. Maybe he's just looking to have a nice, safe farming economy back here, as he is starting to add in some granaries, starting to add in some farms. So that could be the plan for him here.
See, and this is the issue for RecoN right now. Now that the granaries are starting to come up, he's able to put his farms up. This, again, he's down in military count, of course, 43 to 69, nice. But the granary transition, now that it's pretty much completed, I mean, China's in their late game economy now. You know, I mean, obviously you can add a couple more farms around the granary when he's able to, but this is, at 21 minutes, we're at China's late game.
Yeah,
for Rus and RecoN, we're not at his late game. And we're going to see that, and we're going to see it carry over. That second town center is going to get absolutely demoralized by all of those Zugnuth, and the Nesta Bees are going to help him out. 3DB is going to move his army down south. I don't think RecoN has much in the way of defensive structures besides the Kremlin over there in RecoN's base. So as soon as it goes into RecoN's base, I'm not sure if there's anything he could do about it. Oh, there is a keep. Nice. Okay, good.
I mean, it's still going to get taken out pretty quickly by just these Nesta Bees. We could maybe even see a Trebuchet or maybe some Rams out of B as well. But, you know, B is denying enough by just being on this side of the base. We see hunting cabins. They're going to look to get taken out soon. You know, we've got houses over here as well. I mean, that's all infrastructure here for RecoN that he doesn't really want to be replacing. So it feels a little bit rough for him. You see, he does still have access to the south side of the map here with the gold vein. So it's not like he's struggling when it comes to gold, which is fortunate for him. But as you say, RecoN, he's not in the late game yet. Imperial Age takes a long time to come through for the Rus. There's just so many upgrades that they need to be at their full potential. Whereas for the Chinese, I feel like it's a lot easier for them to reach their late game potential.
Yeah, and RecoN's trying to claw his way back into the game with a little bit of a night raid. We'll see if this IO can pull a Vanishing Act this time. My vote is no. And then the only good Imperial official is a dead one, so I'm glad that one hits the ground. Mill and Woodline over there on the north side are going to get raided as well, but we have that Deathball army. The one thing about the Zugnu, I know we talked about how powerful they are slow. So for these knights, they did take down a couple knights, but those knights are going to be able to get out of the way, maybe create a little bit of idle time for Beat. But again, with these areas and the fact that his economy is so secure, he has a little bit of idle time. He just goes back to those infinite food resources, and it's really not that big of a deal. RecoN, as far as his siege goes, he has a decent amount of springholds, which is going to help him out. And he has like 2 or 3 rams, but you can see what Nest of Bees can do. Bees
so
can even sting wood. How about it?
This unit is so stupid. How is this a thing? Like, I don't know. That just looks stupid to me. But anyway, both players...
You're saying what's in my head. Sorry.
Yeah.
Please continue.
But both players are going to be looking towards an age up now, it seems. B, he has enough in the bank. He's going to be going for a little bit of a Great Wall Gatehouse, it seems. At least, I think this is where he's going to be looking to place it. Yeah, there it is. Great Wall Gatehouse coming through. It's quite aggressive. That is very much aggressive. We see he's going to be securing up to 8,000 gold mines. If RecoN doesn't have access to this later on in the game, this could cause some big issues for him. And I've spoken to countless players that have just said, once this landmark goes up, it's not worth taking it down. It's better just to just go around it. But the problem for him here is that he's going to have to try to take it out because we've got 2 8,000 gold mines here. But maybe it doesn't even go up as RecoN brings the army. B has nothing to defend that with and has to cancel.
That is huge for RecoN because you're exactly right with the Great Wall Gatehouse. I heard the same typical things from pro players. It's a no-go zone, right? You put the Great Wall Gatehouse in the middle. It just means you're not going to be able to take the middle for the rest of the game. On the other side, RecoN actually going for the Spasskaya Tower on the east side. It looks like B is trying that Great Wall Gatehouse again over there in the middle. He did put a couple stone walls there, so maybe he'll be able to get that up. But
is this about to be instant
Spasskaya
karma?
Tower, I don't. With 8 villagers, if China sees this with this mass, that's not going up either.
I don't think that's going up. RecoN realizes, cancels it immediately. But I do like the landmark choice that he's going with. The question is he going to be able to get it up? Because stone walls is going to be huge for him. This map really loves stone walls, so going up with that landmark is, I would say, a good choice. But then again, you are going to be missing out on a lot of upgrades for, especially your springholds. See the age up comes through for Beat.
Not getting the banded arms for the Rus is a huge thing. That Great Wall Gatehouse finally getting completed. So that is a no-go zone. This Spasskaya Tower will be able to get up. One of the worst things is if you can't get it up, it's a huge issue. But Spasskaya Tower with 23 villagers will be able to get up there eventually. B going with the Spirit Way as well, changing his dynasty around. He's going for Ming Dynasty against the Rus. It just seems like B's kind of toying with his food right now.
I like it, though. We see upgrades coming in for his Palace Guard. I think he's just going to go mass Palace Guard. With Ming Dynasty as well, you get the extra health with this dynasty, so that's going to be really nice for him. And luckily, RecoN does get up this keep, which means, well, I say he keeps control of his farms, but gold gets taken out, and now RecoN, he's goldless. He's only got the relics and the hunting cabins and this last small gold vein in the back of the base. B at the moment has complete map control when it comes to gold.
Yeah, and those hunting cabins and the relics, it's not like they work like enclosures, right? You can't just rely on them for the rest of the game. You need a little bit of that outside, especially because they're units that RecoN might want to make. They're pretty gold heavy. If he wants to make more siege, obviously that's going to be gold heavy as well. B has no problems trying to get all of that gold and getting all of those upgrades. He will get more of those Imperial upgrades before RecoN does, because those Imperial upgrades, they're 700 stone each for most of them anyway. They're about 700 gold each, excuse me. So being able to have all of that gold resource means B's going to get them. RecoN's got to delay him.
RecoN's got quite a massive crossbow at the moment. He did make it up to the Imperial Age with that Spaskayan Tower, but it's going to be hard for him to make use of the... Well, I say that. Have a look at this. We've got some huge stone walls coming down for him. These are some pretty crazy stone walls. I mean, B's going to be going for the same here, and at this point in time, Sacred Sites are looking pretty here for B. I mean, it's going to be hard for RecoN to push this. It's going to be hard for RecoN to push this, as we've got huge stone walls coming down. And it's also going to be hard to push this Sacred Site on the left-hand side, as we've just got so much production down over here. I feel like B could be going for a Sacred Site victory here.
And he would be in a good chance to do that. You know, on the other side, though, B, even though he saw Spaskaya Tower, look at what he's doing for army composition. He has 5 Fire Lancers in the queue, 10 out on the battlefield. I think it's raiding time, boys.
I mean, fortunately, RecoN's going to have stone walls accessible to him, as he did got with Spaskayan Tower, so this right-hand side of the map should be alright for him. I feel like you just got to delete this palisade wall, right, and just stonewall it. Same with this side. I mean, you don't have to delete this one, you can just delete this lumber camp and stick stone wall here. But he definitely needs up some more stone walls if he wants to try and defend up against this, because this is a lot of fire lancers coming through here for B. Does he have biology through? That is the question I want to know. It's on the way. There we go. So 18 seconds away. He's supervising this up, I think. Yeah, there it is. Supervising that up. So that's super quick right there. RecoN going to get cleaned up on this right-hand side as well. And have a look at the villager count right now. RecoN, he's starting to lose out on a lot of his economy. He lost a lot earlier on over on this gold mine. He lost a little bit over on the wood line. And now he's losing out on even more. RecoN down to 78 villagers.
Yeah, I mean, now it's about 79. You could see the difference, 128 to 80, essentially. And I think we're going to get to a point where, as this game progresses in Imperial Age, there's one player that will have the ability to stockpile, and that's B. Even though RecoN does have a little bit more resources right now, his population is exactly capped, is at 160, whereas B is going to be capped. So for RecoN, he's not going to be able to sustain the military production he necessarily needs. To the point where B just takes units and deletes them. He doesn't even care at this point. He has so many resources, he'll just queue up more. He don't care about that.
This is a huge amount of fire lancers. He just stopped production on everything else. He's got a few Palace Guard in there. And he's just going to be taking out the wall here with Nest of Bees. I find it crazy how good this unit is up against things that shouldn't be good up against. Like, this should not be a thing, but it is. And this is going to make a hole in the wall here. B's going to get through 50 Fire Lancers, and RecoN, he doesn't have much of an answer towards that. He's got Crossbow, Streltsy, and Siege. All of which get absolutely wrecked by this.
Yeah, and he's starting to get that Streltsy mass underway. You know, he's got 13, he's got 11 in the queue, but you could take a look at RecoN's army composition right now. It's all ranged. Just like you said, there's only 3 men-at-arms there, so the Lancers can get some good charges off. Not only that, they're going to be able to take out a lot of the siege quite easily, although B's got to be thinking about backing up. As much as we talk about how overpowered those nested bees are, if you got 7 Springolds in front of them, that could mean quite the difference. RecoN's going to be able to re-stonewall rather quickly around that area. I think B's going to need just a little bit more firepower than chucking fireworks at these stone walls.
I'm surprised we haven't seen any rams out of him yet. B trying to break through on the left-hand side here, but he's going to be met with the same set of walls that are on the right-hand side, which is stone, so he's not going to be able to break through there with the fire lancers. But I feel like B could go into rams at this point in time. We see him going to rams quite a bit. Rams, super strong unit at this point in time, especially with the lightweight beams upgrade. You know, you can always make them from the clock tower as well for the extra health. That could always be a possibility here for him, but we see B struggling for the moment just to break through the walls here. It's crazy amount of damage that these nested beasts, just 2 of them, are able to almost break through this wall once again.
Well, Merlin, you're talking about rams, just a little bit out of China and Chinese rams. Take a look at how many rams RecoN has right now. Look at that little 3DB chop through over there. RecoN sees it and stonewalls to the forest, but we have a battalion of rams over here from RecoN. He's looking to try to take down, I don't know, some important buildings, some walls, some landmarks. Got to remember, as China, though, he is Ming Dynasty. I think there's about 6 or 7 different landmarks he's going to have to take down.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to go for the farming eco. I think his, I mean, look at the farming eco here from B. It's huge. He's got so much food in the bank as well. It's not going to be that much of a problem for B if he has a little bit of idle time over here. But if it gets completely shut down, it's going to cost a lot for B to replace all of those farms.
Yeah, I mean, it is, assuming those rams can actually get there, right? So we'll see if they're actually able to. I mean, both of these players, they're just essentially taking pot shots at each other right now, but B's going to push the initiative. As you can see, the notification on your screen, Sacred Victory is starting to approach. RecoN is now on a clock, and we're going to see him starting to mass up units. Try to take down one of these sacred sites. I would think, I mean, the eastern side probably has the least amount of defenses for him to go for. There's 1 fortified outpost and then some stone walls, and that's pretty much it. RecoN has enough rams to take this down, but here we go. We have a Congo line of fire lancers all around the middle side. It looks like he's trying to get some raidable area, and we talked about this, Merlin. We foreshadowed this maybe about 4 or 5 minutes ago. You break down that palisade, you get a stone wall. This doesn't happen. That fortified palisade wall, was that made of gasoline? That went down so quickly. Oh, no.
It's a massacre. Tim, it's an absolute massacre. All the strelts, they cost so much as well. That's so many resources gone for RecoN. And the same's happening over here as well. Crossbows being taken out left, right, and center. And now the fire lancers, they made it into the base. This is why it's so important to delete this wall, get up a stone wall. But RecoN, this is terrible for him. He's even gone into trade now, which is going to get instantly shut down here by B's fire lancers. And RecoN, he's so far behind when it comes to the economy now. And behind this, look at B. He's captured up all 3 sacred sites. We've got 8 minutes left on the counter. And the Rams, they haven't moved yet, which they probably want to get on the move.
I mean, it's a bunch of wasted population, right? For RecoN, he's trying to get things like more villagers, but he's got a lot of dead villagers here making fertilizer for the next trees that pop up. And he's got a bunch of dead donkeys here from all of this trade. This siege, way out of range of where they're supposed to be, the fire lancers, if they're able to get there. But take a look at B's military production, because you saw that stream coming down the middle. B can do this forever because of the granaries. He can just stream fire lancers in. If we were going to be casting this game for the rest of the day, and I hope that doesn't happen, I hope it's not a 7-hour game, but if it is, we can assume that fire lancers could still be streaming out.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. We got 40 out on the field. Still another 20 in the queue. We got 25 Palace Guard in the queue as well. And finally, we see some proper siege coming out from B. So he's going to be starting to probably look to take out the Spasskayan Tower. Maybe even start to push on the left-hand side here. And then we've also got, what are they called? These guys, Grenadiers, which isn't something we see every day.
No, I mean, that's the first Grenadier I've seen in this tournament, especially. But now that we're going to be able to see it against mostly a now it was a ranged mass for RecoN. He's channeling more so into Spearman. I mean, it is a cheap unit. It's a trash unit. It's going to help you against the Fire Lancers. But B changing his army composition, going with Palace Guards and Fire Lancers. He's dropping, I don't necessarily call this a face keep over there in the middle. I'm going to call it maybe somewhere a neck or a throat keep because it's not exactly in his base, but it's close enough.
RecoN, he's looking to break through on the left-hand side here. Doesn't have any units to support it, though. Only has a couple Streltsy, a couple Spears. RecoN, I think, is looking for the Sacred Site, but B, he's got all of his production over here when it comes to the Fire Lancers. He can just rally them over here. They'll have no worry whatsoever taking out those Rams. And RecoN, he's trying to push down the center here as well, but the keep is up. And even if he makes it through a little bit here, he's going to just be met by the Great Wall Gatehouse, which is going to be very hard for him to push underneath.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's even putting military production in front. And you got to remember, with all of these people that are just joining in here for this pivotal game 3, this is between 7 and 9 in the playoffs right now. Whoever wins this game could have the potential to make playoffs because of the fact they won. So that's why we're seeing this long game. That's why we're seeing them put out pretty much all the stops here. Be with 141 villagers. RecoN trying to mass up. But Merlin, I mean, I'm going to say it again. Take a look at the stockpiles up there.
It's huge. It's huge. And the thing is, B has a ton of units in the queue as well. You know, it's like another 20,000 resources, not 20,000, 2,000 resources sitting in, just sitting in production right now.
Yeah, and I mean, he could just, again, he could just continue to do this. Even those expensive siege units like the Bombards, if he's going to take down some of those towers. Now, RecoN trying to add in some Streltsy. It looks like he's got about 9 Streltsy, but you got to remember, just because of those Fire Lancers, they will be blown to smithereens, whether they have families or otherwise. The Grenadiers in the back of B's army composition here, you can see them by the second keep. They're going to be able to do a decent amount of damage against those Spearmen. I mean, I don't know how long RecoN can actually keep this up.
Yeah, the Grenadiers actually doing quite a bit of damage here, but unfortunately for B, he's fighting underneath the Spaskayan Tower, so, you know, that's never a pretty sight. That Bombard is slowly but surely taking it down. Actually, it might be toggling down a Ram at the moment, so we'll need to target down the Spaskayan Tower here. But we see here the Sacred Site did get taken down, so RecoN not going to be under that pressure anymore of a Sacred Site victory. But B is still in such a commanding position right now. We just see Fire Lancers being pumped out right now.
And you got to think about, with the Fire Lancers and the Grenadiers as China, once you get to the Ming Dynasty, those units become vampires. They feed on the corpses of their allies, right? And they gain just about 20 health incrementally as one of them dies. So even though those Fire Lancers, they are quite the expendable unit, they're more of a raiding unit, they do get a little bit of fortification just if one of them ends up going down. You can see those pluses in the middle just for those Grenadiers. This Spaskaya Tower, though, Merlin, is actually doing a pretty good job in terms of holding this middle corridor. I would have expected this to go down a lot quicker than it has already.
Yeah, I think B's finding it tricky to try and take this one out. Obviously, RecoN does have Springles here, and Springles have the longer range. So, you know, RecoN does have that going for him. This Spaskayan Tower has bought himself a lot of value.
And it's quite the tanky thing, too. 10,000 HP out of that Spaskaya Tower. Now, 3DB with those Fire Lancers that you saw in the western part of the map, trying to get into that trade route. Because for RecoN, we talked about the fact that he didn't have gold for most of this. Oh, those donkeys just got exploded. The trade route, this is the only way he's going to get gold. So if he stops this trade route and he's able to make sure RecoN doesn't have gold, it means he can't make things like Streltsy. It means he can't make things like anti-siege, and it's huge.
I think B's trying to go for that Sacred Site victory once again. We got 8 minutes, 50 seconds left on the clock, and this time B set up quite a few outposts, so he's going to be seeing everything that is on the way from RecoN next time. You know, he's not going to be surprised by 10 Rams just popping up out of nowhere. And, you know, B, he's still in a great spot when it comes to his economy. You know, RecoN, he's somewhat recovered. He's up to 130, and he's able to actually hold on the front line here. The Spaskayan Tower looking a little bit low on HP, but, you know, it's up, it's saved.
That 1,300, I mean, it's burning right now, but I don't see any kind of siege that's going in that direction. There's a clock tower bombard from B trying to take down some of the rams. You got to remember these rams, these aren't wandering towns. I mean, they do a good job. They might have those Imperial Age technologies out of the siege workshop, but they are not the wandering towns that we know and love from the Rus. So this keep is going to end up staying up, obviously, because of the repair for China. They're going to be able to be repaired pretty quickly. And now with the rams, with the fire lancers, those rams are going to go down pretty quickly as well. I feel like RecoN, if he keeps going towards this middle, he's going to be beating his head against the wall here.
He does have the siege works coming in, which is going to increase the health on these battering rams. But I don't think that's going to be enough to push this position. We see RecoN, he's starting to still run low on food. He's just trying to pump out as many units as he possibly can here. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to hold this. We see that Spassky tower going to get put under pressure once again. Those two bombards going to be slowly creeping forward. He's taking their shots at the Spassky tower. And B, I mean, he's still 7 minutes away from the Sacred Site victory. And the thing is, he's set up lots of defenses on the left-hand side here. Still not that many on the right-hand side. Which, I mean, maybe this is a place RecoN can look towards. But he's just focused on the middle.
But notice where B is taking these fights, right? These fights aren't necessarily in front of the sacred sites. They're not next to sacred sites. They're next to Chinese keeps. They're next to where Chinese is putting their siege and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes one of the things that I love to say in the sacred victories when they are approaching is sometimes the best defense is a good offense. B is consistently streaming his military into RecoN's base. If RecoN's so focused into his base, he's not going to think about capturing or neutralizing a sacred site.
It's going to be tricky for RecoN here. And the thing is, all of his attention right now is focused on this central point. It's not even like RecoN is being given time right now to mass up an army to try and stop these sacred sites. I think that's what we see quite a bit from players looking to go for sacred site victories. When they have a timer on their hands, they just sort of sit on the sacred sites and wait. But what B's doing here is really smart. You know, he's continually putting on the pressure here. And it just forces RecoN to react to this and not have any time to be able to focus on the sacred sites.
No, and I mean, look at the units that RecoN is making, right? He's using spears against the fire lancers, which is fine. He's using Streltsy because they're a good DPS unit. Maybe they'll be able to help against things like grenadiers. If he wanted to, against fire lancers, obviously they could be good too if you can tackle them at a range. But they're not a tanky unit. They're not something like, look at what these spearmen are doing right now for RecoN. They're fighting under a Chinese keep. Do you think they're going to stay alive? Absolutely not.
And we've even got cannon emplacements coming now for B on this keep. Looking rough here for RecoN. I feel like he could do with a trebuchet or two to try and take out this keep.
Oh yeah, I mean, you gotta get long range with it, right? I mean, honestly, from either side. If B used a clock tower counterweight trebuchet, probably the longest name that any unit has in AoE 4, but if he was able to make a couple of those instead of clock tower bombards, you make the Springolds push up a little bit more. You might be able to take down that Spassky tower. On the other side, if RecoN did it, he might be able to take down that Chinese keep, which, remember, takes stone to repair. You can see B, the only really resource that he doesn't have a good handle on right now is stone. He's got about 50 left, continuing to get that keep. But for him, I feel like for B, it's not necessarily maintaining the stone economy. It's just making sure that keeps alive for another 4 minutes.
You know what we need here? We need a Hyoi Hyoi Pow trebuchet. I wish more Civs could make it. I really do. I think it's such a cool unit. I think they should just make these super expensive units. Like, I don't know, make it 1,000 of each resource, but give it to every civilization or something. I don't know. I feel like that could be a pretty cool idea. Just give the option to players for a super long-range trebuchet. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, especially, some of the Eastern civilizations, right? Like Mongols, obviously, they took the research from the Chinese. So the Chinese, you could make it historically accurate. Maybe instead, if any of you played the Mongol campaign, you would see that you could use the Hui Hui Pao pretty effectively. One thing that was effective is those fire lancers on those Springolds. RecoN has absolutely zero anti-siege now.
He's going to be starting to burn down some of these outposts, but all of these do have sprung emplacements. He's not going to be able to make it past this wall without any siege. But he has got more rams on the way. But B, you know, he's here with some army. And he's able to hold on here on all 3 sacred sites. We're only 3 minutes away now. And this is the sort of time where you could think about pulling all of the villagers to sit on a sacred site.
So, this is the thing for RecoN too, which is actually making me scratch my head, because RecoN was really going for that Chinese keep, that net keep that we call it over here, and still using rams to do that. But take a look, Merlin. What's behind that Chinese keep? Just take a look. There you go. Look at this thing. You spent so much time trying to get that first keep. By the time you try to decap this sacred site, if that's what you're going to, you're right next to the Great Wall Gatehouse. And if you had problems taking down a regular Chinese keep, that Great Wall Gatehouse is going to be migraine-inducing.
I think RecoN's going all in now on this left-hand side. We see rallying tons of units over there, lots of rams. As you said earlier on, RecoN doesn't have access to that Wandering Town upgrade, but still, he has lightweight beams through. There we go. He does have that through, so he's going to be able to break through this one pretty quickly. B has fire lancers over here. We see the rams going to be heading towards that sacred site. Looks like the timer isn't being paused quite yet. B just going to be repairing this one up here. I see some pressure still coming in from the center of the map. RecoN, he's got 1 minute and 45 seconds to stop this sacred site. Does he have enough, though?
Yeah, and honestly, I think if RecoN even did decap the sacred site, he's pushing all of his units to this left side, and very invaluable when it comes to trades in order to do that. Now, he does have a decent amount of spearmen. There are fire lancers here, bombard towers. That one stone wall will fragment. That little hole there is making it so the bombard is getting good AoE. But now that 1 minute 24, Merlin, it's stuck on 1 minute 24. He didn't have a fire lancer, didn't have villagers anywhere. The Muscovite mass over here was able to stop the count.
Oh, look at this.
So,
RecoN, he's
no,
putting the Streltsy on the
walls.
wall. This is really smart from him. He's going to be able to get that extra ranged. He's going to take less damage here from the Grenadiers, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough. We see B, he's still got a great farming at eco. Have a look at how much food he's getting per minute right here. 4,500 a minute. It is ridiculous. And B, he's just pumping out the Palace Guard, pumping out the Fire Lancers. Hand Cannoneers on the way now as well, and that Sacred Site is still being denied out for the time being, but I don't see this lasting too much longer. RecoN's forces starting to slow down here. Nothing in the bank. You see his food eco, despite being at almost 3,000, still isn't enough to compete with B's army here, as that Sacred Site finally does continue. 1 minute, 20 seconds left until B will win with the Sacred Site victory.
Oh my god, that was I didn't think RecoN was necessarily going to hold, but it got to a point where if I was B, I'd be like, are you pulling the boys right now? What are we doing? Because we got to get this area under control. You see the villagers in their nice little funny hats for the Imperial Chinese. Going to be able to get those stone walls back under wraps. There's a minute left. RecoN didn't even want to play the minute out. He's like, there's no way I can get one of these sacred sites. And in a crazy series, 2-1 going to 3DB. Remember, he was the 7 seed as we checked our schedule, or we checked our league standings, before this series started. Now with 2-1 for B, he could maintain his own destiny in the playoffs with this win, Merlin. This is